Watching the film, you were talking about how when you filmed Cujo, you weren't a parent at the time. And then watching the film, for me as a parent, your performance is so amazing and so raw. It does bring tears to my eyes, like thinking about putting yourself in that position and just doing anything for your child. Can you talk about the challenges? It looked like you were hot the whole time you were filming.
I know,
you were
weren't we good? Freezing.
Is there something you can talk to the extent of, like, how did you kind of, it's so realistic, like I kind of could put myself in that position, like wanting to take care of my child and do anything, yet you know.
Well, to me, that's what the whole film is about. You know, to some people it's about fear. For me, it was, there's nothing I won't do to save my kid. That's what drove my performance. And no, I didn't have a kid at the time, but I was a kid, and I saw my, oh, tears. I saw my mother throughout my whole life. There wasn't anything she wouldn't do, you know, to get me through. And there were some pretty tough times in my childhood, too. And, you know, even those of us who have a pet, and our pets are our children, there's very little that you don't do for something that you love, you know. So that's what drove it for me. And yes, we were very cold and wet.
Have you ever driven a Ford Pinto since?
No, and if I never see another Pinto in my life, it will be too soon.
Are we allowed to talk about what you're working on right now?
We can talk about anything.
Okay, perfect. So we're fortunate enough to drag Dee away from filming Grimm.
Yes, I'm filming Grimm in Portland right now.
Which is awesome.
Thank you. Playing Monroe's mother, and they just got picked up for another season. So everybody write in and say, gee, we love the parents. We really need you to bring them back.
Is there a medium that you prefer to work in, like as a television as opposed to film, or?
Usually I prefer film because you have more freedom. You have more creative freedom usually. And that started a few years ago because a lot of the writers became the executive producers. And so the words became a lot more religious, a lot more, you know, sacrosanct. And of course, I'm sure, you know, if you're starring in your own series, you probably have a little bit more room there to play. But Grimm, I don't find that in Grimm. They're very open to new ideas and you bringing in your own ideas. Of course, they write such amazing scenes for us that a lot of times we you know, there's nothing for us to want to make it better or bring in ideas. So I just feel really like I've died and gone to heaven on this shoot. The producers are fabulous. Actually, they're the same producers. I did a little film called Secret Admirer. Anybody see that? Yeah. And they're the same writer-producers that I worked for like years ago when I was a young girl, at the beginning of my career. I'm young at heart, that's for sure. For sure.
Can you talk about, well, I know when I met you at Son of Monster Palooza last year, I was like, what is your favorite film to work on that you've worked on, and you spoke about it at the beginning. Is there a reason why Cujo had such fond memories for you, or why it's one of your favorites?
Well, I didn't say it was fond memories. It was the hardest shoot I have ever done. I mean, I think they picked me up every morning at 5 a.m. and I was lucky if I got home by 8. And every scene that you saw, we probably shot 12 to 15 times because you're working with a dog and a kid. And when they come together, that's the one they print. So you have to be on all the time, which means, you know, every scene you're doing, 15 takes every angle, right? And it can get excruciating on your little adrenal glands. But, you know, again, everybody on the set was so incredibly talented in front of the camera and behind the camera. And, you know, I've just kind of had a career where that's true. I mean, I started out working with Blake Edwards in 10. You know, I started at the top. And Spielberg and Louis Teague and Joe Dante with The Howling, Rob Zombie, you know, I mean, Harrison Smith, who I just did a wonderful film. Actually, my daughter is the star. I have a supporting role in it. Thank you very much. But I think he's a really exciting up-and-coming director. It's called Zombie Killers. And it's the first installment of Zombie Killers called The Elephant's Graveyard. And it's really, really a good film. I play a mother dying of cancer. I look like I'm already dead. Oh my God, I look so bad in this film. But it's really, you're going to like it. It's a really good movie. So I just, you know, whether they're young filmmakers or the really established, brilliant directors of our time, I just seem to really attract nice, good, really creative people that know what they're doing. Thank you, God.
Well, I'm going to stop taking up Dee's time, and I'd like to take some questions from the audience. So if you could just stand up and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, it's not a question, it's a thank you. I was born in 1971. I was born in Mesa. I grew up with you.
Yeah, everybody grew up with me, baby.
In Cujo, you saved me from the dog time again. In E.T., you helped me raise my little guy, you know. And I read that you were coming here, and I was thrilled. I get to see Cujo with, you know, Dee Wallace, and I'm looking at the credits, and it says Frighteners, and I was like, she's not in Frighteners.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that's me. Yeah.
And I realized, I go, she's the crazy lady who's married to that dead guy with the shotgun.
Yeah, I got to kill a lot of people. I had so much fun.
It blows me away.
Thank you.
I saw it in the theaters, and until this day, I did not know it was you.
Yeah, a lot of casting directors still don't know it's me.
It's amazing. Because in E.T. and Cujo, you are very like...
Nice.
Jack Lemmon. No, you're Jack Lemmon. You can play an ordinary person even though you are not ordinary yourself. And most actors can't do that, and it's very impressive.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much. It's interesting that I had to, thank you, that I had to leave the country and go to New Zealand in order to play against type. You know, they like to type us so much here. Before E.T., I played hookers, I played call girls, I played astronauts, you know, and once E.T. hit, it was like, oh, she's the mom. And I swear to God, I played every kind of mom there is. Bad moms, good moms, sick moms, warped moms, you know, understanding moms, caring moms, asshole moms. I played when I get a call that they want me to come in and audition for a mom, I go, really? Is there not a mom in my 40-year career that I've done that is remotely like the mom that they want me to come in for? But that's the game you know, back in the 80s, you had proven yourself, and they called and they said, here's the offer. Now, for the most part, the game is, we know you, we know everything about you, we know everything you've done, but come in and read anyway. You know? So that's the game you play. Although I just did a wonderful pilot called The Visitors that I was very nicely given an offer for. So it's always thrilling for an actor when you don't have to go in and tap dance again, right? It's like, what am I going to prove after 40 years, guys? Really, what am I going to prove? So, do we have another question? Okay, Jay.
I got a question about like in the shots when you're in the car. Can you kind of give a little behind the scenes of like how they, were there like a bunch of different cars that were cut in half? Or,
No, there was only one car.
and they were all, were they shoved in the car with you with a camera? How did they get?
Well, they were usually, most of the shots were done from the outside, and the car could come apart from the middle. That's how they got that roundy scene, that they split the car and made a hole and literally put it in upside down with a telescopic, which, you know, our cinematographer was Jan de Bont, who's gone on to be a very revered director in his own right. And he and Lewis just created some amazing, it's really hard, you know, half the show is in the car. And it's really hard to keep the interest alive and the angles from different places. So the front of the car could come off, the back of the car could come off, the sides could come apart. But as actors, we always felt like we were in the whole car. That's all I remember, is being in the car. And, oh, I have so many stories about Cujo. I can just go on forever. But I know the first day that Lewis was on there, they were very concerned for the dogs. The dogs were taken much better care of than I was, I just want to tell you. They had a medic on there for the dogs all the time, and Carl Miller, the trainer, actually slept in the barn with the dogs. It was really sweet. They were all trained to go after toys, and on action, Carl would say, dig for your toy, right? And so they'd go, ar, 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 and they were trained to actually dig like this so they'd look ferocious, and we would whip up egg whites and put egg whites all over their muzzles, and so, of course, we had to shoot very quickly because they'd be licking off the egg whites, and they had to bathe them every day because they would have the mud and the blood on them. There was a lot of caretaking going on with these dogs and with the car, I might say. Me, not so much. There's a question.
Yeah, what's the, I didn't realize that Lewis came on 3 days after the shoot had started. What was the story with that?
Well, the story with that was, oh dear, what was his name? I remembered it the other day. He did the ruling class. He was a very big director at the time, and a good director. But I got up there. I'd not met him. He didn't come on till the last minute. Peter, the ruling class. Somebody look it up. You've got a phone. And we started showing him the clothes. He says, no. I don't want to have a bra and all this stuff has to be see-through. And I went, say what? And she said, yeah. He said, look, every metaphor about the dog is sexual. Everything is sexual in this. And I'm going, and I went to Dan Blatt and I went, I think he's doing a different film than I'm doing. But I'm not doing his film. So if this is the film you want, you better get another actress because this is definitely not what I do. This is about a mother saving her kid for me. And Dan went, he wants you to what? He said, did anybody have a production meeting before? So he was out. Louis Teague had originally been the director on this and been in discussions with Dan and talked about everything, and then they shifted studios, and somebody at the new studio didn't want Louis Teague. So Louis was out, and this guy came in, and then when this guy was out, Dan said, look, this is not going to work. Louis knows what he wants to do. He's got great ideas. We're bringing him back in, and so they brought Lewis back in, and yeah, well, you know, and you all think it's about talent. So often we get things and lose things for the most ridiculous reasons, really. Votes from beyond that you don't even know where the edict's coming down from. But we really lucked out with Lewis, who's just a genuinely beautiful, beautiful person too. Oh, we have a question right up here.
Did you get to have meetings with Stephen King? Is he also?
Stephen was only on the set at like the very first day. I got to meet him. Very quiet, very, very sweet man. But that was kind of the extent of it. But I can tell you that when he saw the first cut, he wrote us and said, "Thank God you didn't kill the boy at the end. I never got more hate mail in my entire career than the end of Cujo. And if I had it to do it over again, I would not have killed the kid." But I was a big part of that decision. Dan and I had meetings about it, and I said, look, a lot of people are going to be here that have never seen the film. And I don't feel like you can put them through 2 hours of what we're going to put them through with no payoff at the end. So I really don't want to kill the kid at the end. That was horror to me as a mother. Or as somebody who wanted to be a mother. Chris and I were, Chris Stone was my husband at the time, who played my lover in that. I remember when Dan Blatt called and offered it to me, and I read the script, and then he called again. I said, "Oh my God, Dan, what a tour de force part, and I just know this woman, but I don't know about the love scene. I just, that's just really not what I do." And he said, "Well, we were thinking about offering Chris." Everybody thinks I brought Chris into all my projects, which is so not true at all. And he said, "Well, we were thinking about offering Chris that part." And I went, "Okay." But I'll tell you, wait, are there any little kids? No, you're not too little. There's no little kids in here. So the night before, we have to do this scene, and Chris looks at me and he goes, "So how are we going to do this?" And I said, "Well, we can't do it like we really do it, because nobody would believe that." So we get to the set, and I'm sitting on top of him, and I look down at him and I go, "Honey," and he said, "Forget it. Forget it. I'm too worried about how they're shooting you and if you're going to look right." And it was like, the best way I can describe it is, it's like having your mother sitting on the bottom of your bed as you're making love with your, it's just weird shooting a love scene, even when you're married to the guy you're doing it with. So.
I think we have time for one or two more questions.
Excuse me, I need to make an announcement. For anybody who's holding a ticket to Queen of Blood, that movie will be starting very momentarily.
Momentarily.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Oh, come on, guys, you must have. If not, I'll just tell some stories.
Oh, but in front of, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I love how you've been in a lot of prestige projects, but you seem just like a fangirl, which is awesome. So in that vein, have you read a lot of Stephen King, and if so, is Cujo your favorite novel?
Oh, dear. Okay, I have to preface this disclaimer. I really only read one type of books. I don't read a lot of books for enjoyment, for like fantasy books, in fiction. The other side of my life is I do a lot of healing and spiritual work. And I read a lot of scientific books about energy, and like right now I'm reading a book called Focus by Daniel Goleman, all about why we can't focus in our lives, because focus is a big part of creating in your life. So the answer would be no. And, oh dear God, this is so embarrassing. I never read Cujo. And I purposely didn't read Cujo before I did it. I purposely didn't read Cujo before I did it, because I wanted to just step into Donna and feel Donna. And oftentimes a script is incredibly different than the book is, and it can really mess you up. And Cujo is the book is very different, way different than what the screenplay ended up to be. So again, you know, you kind of have to channel for yourself what the driving force of the project is for you. And, you know, I just want to say that people ask me, people who know about my healing work, often ask me how I can justify doing that when I do so many horror films. But I can tell you absolutely, the biggest monster you're running away from in your lives is yourself. And whether it looks like Cujo, or the werewolf in The Howling, you know, or an extraterrestrial that you're in fear of, it's really your own fear of your lack of control, and how you've lost the belief in your own self-creation.
So we have time for one more? We don't have any time?
Oh,
And
really?
we need to have the theater cleared out. So,
Oh, I could do this for another hour.
if you'd like to,
We'll be moving into,
heading over to
yeah, we'll be heading into the lobby to do a signing with Dee. So if everybody would
Thank
like
you,
to.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you
It's
so
such
much.
a great story. Thank
Please
you.
come and meet Dee in the lobby. And